Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
For the first time in quite a while, we had some rain in Cincinnati today. Right now, things look pretty good. Let's keep our fingers crossed. A sellout crowd on hand tonight for Johnny Bench bobblehead night. It's also the third game of a 4-game series between the defending world champion Giants and the Cincinnati Reds. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Thanks for being with us tonight. Well, we've seen Johnny Cueto in this series. He didn't get the win, but the Reds got the win. The Giants handled it behind their ace last night, and certainly an argument can be made that at least lately, the man pitching tonight, Mike Leake, has been the Reds' ace.
Yeah, you might say that, Tom. He's probably the most under-the-radar pitcher in the National League over the last few years, but his last 3 starts really will get him a lot of attention. A 0.4 earned run average. That is 1 earned run in the last 22 innings pitched. This year, his earned run average is 9th best in the league. He's got 5 straight quality starts. He really delivers, and what he does is keeps the pace of the game going. When he gets the ball back from the catcher, he is rocking and rolling and ready to go.
We told you last night the Giants, most figured they were going to wait till Tuesday to activate their outstanding right fielder, Hunter Pence. They got tired of waiting around. He's here tonight and in the lineup tonight.
Well, he's meant so much to this ball club. From an emotional standpoint, this is him in spring training being plunked on the left arm by Corey Black, a Double-A pitcher from the Chicago Cubs. And for a guy that has had an uncanny ability to stay on the field over the last few years, this sidetracked Hunter Pence right from the very beginning of the year. He was down in rehab. He got about half as many at-bats as they'd like him to get down there, but he was feeling so good they had to bring him back. And if you just look at what he has done for the Giants in the World Series last year, you can see why they want him back in a hurry.
And very good career numbers for Hunter Pence, not only against Mike Leake, but the numbers in his career against the Reds, not bad at all. Of course, a lot of those years spent inside the division when the Astros used to be in the National League Central Division. Brian Price has juggled the lineup tonight, trying to get more at-bats for his red-hot shortstop. That and more coming up. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. It was a rainy afternoon in Cincinnati, but right now the rain has cleared out, and we are set for baseball. Giants and Reds, Game 3 of a 4-game set. What a turnaround it's been for Zach Cozart so far this year. Tonight, he will hit in the leadoff position. He is your steel power tool performer, and man, has he been performing. Look at his ranks among National League shortstop. Hit a home run last night. First amongst shortstops in the National League with 6. First in slugging percentage. Second in average. How about a 321 clip for Zach Cozart? Take that all day, every day. Tied for 4th in runs driven in, and a 366 on base percentage looks nice as well. He'll be picking it at shortstop as usual behind Mikey as Mike takes the mound. Leak, perhaps the Reds ace right now. Reds and Giants. Tom and Chris are next on Fox Sports Ohio.
The forecast calling for scattered showers. We are hoping and praying and keeping our fingers crossed, and Mother Nature's in a good mood tonight. And that's brought to you by Local 12 WKRC TV. The Reds have taken the field on this military night, and in their camouflage uniforms, our T-Mobile game changer. And my, oh my, has he been a difference maker, is Mike Leake. The #1 earned run average so far in the major leagues going back to the end of April.
It's really amazing what Mike Leake has done over the years, but especially this year, going back to that date, as you see. I mean, he not only keeps his team in a ball game, he keeps the team in a ball game even if they don't score any runs in support of him. And he's got all of his pitches going. He continues to refine a 5 or 6 pitch repertoire by changing speeds, a little bit of a change of an arm angle. He's got a very good biting curveball that he holds in kind of a spike curveball fashion, a cutter, and a sinking fastball, and he gets a lot of ground balls. I think that one of the big things for Mike Leake so far this year is keeping the ball in the ballpark, and when he does give them up, he seems to be giving up solo shots.
Let's take a look at Bruce Bochy's starting lineup tonight for the Giants. Winners big here last night. And Gregor Blanco, a big reason why. He'll be followed by Panic and then Pagan. Posey in a cleanup spot. Belt homered last night. Pence in the 6 hole, his first game of this season. just activated before the game tonight. Crawford, McGee, and Vogelsong, the latter third for the Giants. Each team 18 up, each team 18 down. Reds 6.5 behind the front-running Cardinals. The Giants 5.5 behind the division-leading Los Angeles Dodgers out west. Leake rocks, throws the left leg in the air, delivers to your right one, and we're underway. Capacity crowd giving away the Johnny Bench bobblehead to the first 25,000 through the gates tonight. 0-2. This run of 5 consecutive quality starts, and they've been uber quality for Leake, came in a 2-1 complete game loss against the St. Louis Cardinals. That bat goes flying further than the ball. And Blanco retired on 3 pitches. Take a look at the Reds on defense. Presented by Ford. The one notable change in center field tonight. No Billy Hamilton against a right-hander Ryan Vogelsong. First start in quite a while for Brennan Bosch. And Tucker Barnhart, who's worked so splendidly with Leake during this 5-start run, is behind the plate. Now Joe Panik. He comes in with a career best 11-game hitting streak. Two hits and a walk last night. A triple and a walk in a series opener. This is in the air. Bosch is coming in to get it.
The first thing you notice about Mike Leake is that he throws strikes. He throws strikes that really aren't in the quality part of the strike zone for a hitter. And he's been all over the corners already. He's thrown 5 pitches, all of them strikes, all of them on the corners. And the other thing is that he keeps it going. I mean, when he gets the ball back from the catcher, he is ready to go. He's peering in at Tucker Barnhart. They've already figured out what they're going to throw. And the only thing holding the game up is the batter getting in the batter's box.
In this case, that's Angel Pagan with 2 down and nobody on. Fastball off the outside corner. Bruce Dreckman is our home plate umpire tonight. Tom Hallion, the crew chief, at first. Alfonso Marquez works at second base. Dan Bellino, the umpire, down at third. And a pop up into short left, and easy come, easy go for Mike Leake. A snappy 7-pitch opening inning. Price's team comes to bat in the last of the first inning, and his lineup presented by Meyer. And we told you Zach Cozart tonight leads off for the first time all year long. Marlon Byrd bats second. Joey Votto, the third place hitter. Frazier, Bruce, Phillips in the middle. Bosch in the 7-hole. Tucker Barnhart, Mike Leake 8 and 9. Against a veteran right-hander making his 6th start. He's pitching a pair of games out of the bullpen. 37 years old is right-hander Ryan Vogelsong.
A real baseball survivor is Vogelsong. He's had his best years as a member of the Giants from Glen, Pennsylvania.
Well, he has certainly had a well-traveled career. In Cozart, in his first at bat out of the leadoff spot, lifts a fly ball into right field. 1 pitch, 1 out. The Giants behind Vogelsong. First start, first game. Activated off the disabled list for Hunter Pence. He has played a pile of games in his ballpark through the years. Most of them, as we mentioned earlier. All those seasons he came up originally with the Houston Astros. Vogelsong was originally drafted by the San Francisco Giants all the way back in 1998 in the 5th round. And then in one of the great trades the Giants ever made in their franchise history, they traded Vogelsong to the Pirates and received Jason Schmidt. And for about a 4 or 5 year run, Schmidt was as good as anybody in the National League. Helped pitch the Giants to 3 playoff appearances, including a World Series in 2002. Vogelsong, over 3 years, pitched a lot of games for the Pirates. It did not go well. There's a 2-hopper to short, 2 outs in the inning. And after being sent back to the minor leagues in 2006, he went to Japan for 3 years before coming back to the States. And then his first full year, the Giants gave him a shot. He turned into an all-star in 2011 when he won 13 games.
Well, he got that shot in 2011 because it was Barry Zito that was injured and they needed somebody to fill in. So they signed Vogelsong, and boy, did he ever take advantage of that. His only all-star experience was that year. And the following year, he had 16 consecutive quality starts. So he's had a pedigree of a background where he's had some very good games and some long stretches of good games for the Giants. A little bit shorter now on stuff than he once was. I mean, he used to throw somewhere between 92 and top out at 94. Now he throws around 90 and he tops out around 92. When he came to spring training this year, he got banged around very badly and had a horrible spring. And I think it was a situation where he didn't believe that his stuff was diminishing. And he finally had to find a little courage and confidence in himself, and he's back to throwing the way they think he can, which is believing in every pitch he throws. You know, and I guess from a pitching coach's standpoint, it's the difference between throwing the ball to the catcher and throwing the ball through the catcher.
Two down, nobody on for Joey Votto, a .305 batter, 7 home runs and 21 batted in. Votto had 2 hits against that mighty tough left-hander, the Giants' Madison Bumgarner, in 3 at-bats last night.
Well, that was impressive. I mean, after dribbling a ball back to him in his first at-bat, you could just see him just tighten up the resolve a little bit.
Three balls and a strike to Votto. Let it rip there and came up empty, a full count. Fly ball into left center field. Pagan tracking short of the track. And a 1-2-3 inning for Vogelsong. We're scoreless at the end of an inning. The dominance the Reds have had over these Giants, the last 30 times they've played one another, the Reds have come away winners all but 9 of those occasions, including last night. It's really sort of hard to figure. When we're talking about a Giants team, and you only play roughly 6 games a year against teams inside your league, but out of your division this year, that'll be 7 games between the Reds and the Giants. So, you know, in 2 of those years, the Giants have won the World Series. They've won 3 of the last 5 overall. Buster Posey fouling it away, 2 balls and a strike.
Well, they're an even year World Series winning team. So even those around San Francisco figure that this just might be a year they take off. You get kind of spoiled after your team goes to the World Series as many times in a handful of years as the Giants have been.
Well, you're not lying. You know, we started to talk about it in the opener of the series. The Giants won the World Series in 1954 over the Cleveland Indians. 4 years later, they go to San Francisco, make the move across country. The Dodgers, of course, go to Los Angeles. There's a pop-up down the left field line. Bird a long run, but it's out of play. 4 years after the move, the Giants reached the World Series, losing to the New York Yankees. They would not play in another World Series for 27 years. That's when they were swept, known as the Earthquake Series, when they battled the Oakland Athletics. They lost the heartbreaking World Series when Dusty Baker was manager of the team in 2002 against Anaheim. Ground ball right at Frazier. But then they put it all together in 2010 in a wild World Series over the Texas Rangers, the franchise's first World Series title since moving to Northern California. And now all of a sudden it's 3 out of the last 5. Brandon Belt homered here last night for the first time this year, and he's homered his first time up tonight.
Well, last night Brandon Belt jumped on the first pitch he saw in his first at bat on a fastball that he got from Jason Marquis. This is a hanging breaking ball. And look where that location is on the Fox tracks, pretty much right down Broadway right there, and rode right out of here. If he hits that same ball at AT&T Park in San Francisco, that is one of the deepest parts of that entire ballpark, and you probably have to hit it twice to get it out of there. So he's enjoying being on the road in a smaller ballpark by all comparisons.
Well, the fan base was really starting to get on Belt quite a bit out in San Francisco. We mentioned when the Giants came to town, Belt was the only first baseman playing regularly in the entire National League without a home run. And now all of a sudden he's homered in back-to-back games, and here's the first at bat of the season for Hunter Pence.
You're going to see the brace on his left hand or on his left wrist. That's where he was hurt and hit with a pitch in spring training, or in early spring training. Well, he gives you one of the more unusual batting stances. I mean, he looks like he's just chugged a couple of carafes of coffee before he stepped out of the on-deck circle into the batter's box. I mean, he can't sit still, fidgety all the time.
That ball is stung into right center field, and Pence in his first at bat has doubled into right center field.
Boy, it looked like he never took a day off. I mean, he gets a fastball up right here. Leak just makes a mistake, and it's in the center part of the plate. Actually, that looks like more of a cutter than it is anything else, and it just kind of hangs right there for Pence to lace, and he did that. A cutter is a pitch that's supposed to move down and away, or at least away from a right-handed hitter, and that ball just kind of rotated and stayed right in the spot.
Leake retired the first 4 Giants in the game. Belt homered, Pence doubles, and here's Brandon Crawford, the shortstop. 0-1. Crawford with 5 home runs, 18 runs batted in on the season. Fouls it out of play. He had 2 hits, a stolen base, and an RBI last night after wearing an 0 for 4 collar here on Thursday night. Of course, the Giants did a lot of hitting last night. They had 13 hits, scored 10 runs. They averaged just fractionally more than 3 runs per game. Only the Philadelphia Phillies are scoring fewer runs per game than the Giants, and they have 2 runs in the game tonight.
Mike Leake went from looking so sharp in the first inning, I mean, being right on the corners exactly where he wanted to making some major mistakes. And we have not seen this really out of Mike Leake in the last few starts. His 2-seam fastball, which is not what it had appeared to be, is up around the waist, and they never sink when you throw them that high.
Leake has allowed more runs just over these last 3 batters than he has allowed over his last 3 starts combined. That's over 22 innings. We told you he'd only allowed 1 earned run. Now Casey McGee, 191 batted, 2 home runs, 8 runs batted in. McGee hit the ball hard a couple of times last night. The Giants are hoping that might kickstart his season offensively. It has been a disaster so far. They traded to get him from the Marlins after a pretty good year with them last year, where he was voted the National League's Comeback Player of the Year by his peers.
Yeah, we've said it every time we've seen Casey McGee come to the plate. He seems to be hunting for something on the inner third. That's where his power is. He never really gets himself committed to hitting the ball the other way, or at least on a pitch that's down the way. When you make a mistake, he's plenty strong enough to give it a ride in there.
Phillips, Cozart, a double play will end the inning. The Giants strike for a pair and lead by a pair. Stephanie Sider from Alexandria, Kentucky wins that Tundra. And if you're interested in winning that baby, just register for your chance to win by stopping by your Cincinnati and or Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. 2 runs in the Giants' second inning. Reds were set down in order by Ryan Vogelsong in the first, and here we go, round 2. Frazier, Bruce, and Brandon Phillips. Well, this quartet has chewed up Ryan Vogelsong through the years. Hoping to continue that here in this second inning and through the rest of the night. Line drive. Boy, Frazier's got to be wondering, what do I have to do? He caught the one break on the little dribbler for an infield hit in the 8th inning last night after he had stun outs to third and right.
You know, there are certain uncontrollable things in the game of baseball. One is uncontrollable after the pitch leaves your hand as a pitcher. You can't do anything more to it. And the same when the ball leaves your bat. All you can do is look, hope, and sometimes just hang with them.
Jay Bruce a night off last night against the left-hander Bumgarner. Started the first game of the series, went 0 for 3, struck out twice, drew a walk. Checks in overall this season at 162, 5 home runs and 16 batted in. The Reds are catching Vogelsong in a good stretch. We mentioned he's pitched 2 games out of the bullpen. He's making his 6th start, but his last 2 have been his best starts. He's only allowed 1 run in his last 14 innings. Now, it should be noted both of those starts were in his home ballpark, where he has just been spectacular so far this year. On the road, it has been ugly. 11 1/3 innings pitched. He surrendered 17 earned runs.
You know, pitching in a ballpark like AT&T, especially early in the year when pitchers are ahead of the hitters coming out of spring training, the air is wet, it's cold, and it's a hard ballpark to hit home runs, and it gives a pitcher a lot of confidence. So you feel like your stuff, even if it isn't what it used to be, is still good enough to get hitters out.
A high fly ball, towering fly ball to right center field. And Pagan is there right in front of the wall. That's the 3rd one of those on this homestand for Bruce that has been caught by either the right fielder or the center fielder with a back against the wall.
Well, a hanging breaking ball about belt high right there, and he just missed it by 1/4 of an inch because he put the good part of the bat on it. But really, going back to the comparison we had here in San Francisco, if Jay Bruce, who gave the fans a thrill with that one, hits that in San Francisco, you don't even bother yawning because it doesn't get anywhere near the warning track. In fact, that's a medium fly ball there. It can get into a hitter's head as well.
Brandon first pitch swinging, foul ground. This will be a 1-2-3 second for Vogelsong. He's retired the front 6 and leads 2-0 at the end of 2. Nation on Sundays, part of Family Sundays. Kids 14 and younger receive a Mike Leake poster presented by Curly's. And take advantage of special family ticket offers. Lots going on. 381-REDS. Tickets are available tomorrow to wrap up this series and this week-long homestand. Reds beat Atlanta 2 out of 3 to start it. They've split the front two with the Giants and trail here in Game 3 2-0. As Leake retires his counterpart Vogelsong to open the third. Blanco has had an outstanding series, or at least the first 2 games of it. He had 2 hits, a single, a double, a stolen base, a walk, and a run scored last night. 2 hits, a walk, 2 runs scored on Thursday night, and has raised his batting average from .219, and it's on the climb even more here with this drive, and it'll fly right out of here. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. That's Blanco's first home run of the year. He's had more hits and more times on base in 2 games and 2 at-bats than he's probably had in a month.
It's almost like he's willing the Reds pitchers to throw it right down the can to him, because that's essentially where that pitch is as well. Mike Leake, you know, for Mike Leake, a guy who doesn't throw all that hard, the difference between getting the ball down and getting it up is really about 3 inches. You know, 2 inches below the knee and then 1 inch above the knee is the difference between a ground ball and sometimes a home run. You know, and the other thing to consider, if you just look at the numbers, and they keep a lot of odd statistics in baseball nowadays. One of them is called batting average on ball and play. And the average is, you know, if you put the ball in play in the big leagues, the average is somewhere between 290 and 300 that you're going to get. That's what you hit on balls that are in play throughout all the major leagues. Well, right now, coming into this ball game, Mike Leake's batting average on balls in play against him was right around 203, which just means that, you know, either he's not giving up very many line drives or things are falling his way, or a combination of both.
Strike 3 called. Good pitch on the inside corner to Panic. First strikeout of the night for Leake. 2 out.
Nice little comeback fastball right there. You get a lot of spin on that by getting good extension. Your leg has to be headed right towards that left-handed batter's box if you're a right-handed pitcher. We've seen Sam McCure throw that pitch for years and years here, and I wouldn't doubt that he had a little bit of effect on Mike Leake learning that along the way.
Pagan flied out to left field in the opening inning. 1 ball and 1 strike. 3 runs, 4 hits for San Francisco, including a pair of home runs. One by Belt. That came in the second. A solo home run by Blanco here in the third. Played extra innings today in St. Louis, and the Tigers outlasted the Cardinals 4-3 the final. Well, the Cubs keep rolling ever since they went through that little lull. They swept the Mets 4 in a row, and they defeat Garrett Cole and the Pirates today behind John Lester in a final count of 4-1. Bosch charging and can't make the catch in center field. Pagan will slam on the brakes after a big wide turn at first base.
And a rare start out there for Brendan Bosch. We saw him play a little bit of center field in spring training, and he's a capable center fielder. Looks like this, he's got this ball tracked and just loses it as his footing goes out from underneath him. Kind of a controlled slide right there, and just couldn't hold on.
Buster Posey, a ground out to Todd Frazier, leading off the second inning. That's when the problems began thereafter for Leake, allowing the home run to Bell, the double by Pence, RBI single by Crawford. Posey starting his 6th season as a regular for the Giants. They brought him up midway through the month of September in 2009 when he made his major league debut. And they stuck him in that lineup every day in 2010, and he's been a big reason why they've won 3 of the last 5 World Series. A force out will end the inning. A home run by Blanco gives the Giants a 3-0 lead.
It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Sellout crowd, Great American Ballpark on this Saturday night. 3rd game of a 4-game series. The only trip in this year for the San Francisco Giants. And they have a 3-0 lead as the Reds bat against Ryan Vogelsong here in the last of the 3rd, and the latter 3rd in the batting order starts with Brennan Bosch. Bosch only 26 at bats through the first 6 weeks of this season. Has 4 base hits. Earned his way onto the opening day roster with a marvelous spring out in Arizona. Chase that one down and away, hooks it to the right side, and that's 7 straight retired by Ryan Vogelsong. Here comes Tucker Barnhart. Let's check in with Jim Day.
You know, it always makes me do a double take when I hear a player's walk-up music when it's real old school. Maybe you can hear a little bit right now. It's Working Man by Rush. Now we're talking old school Rush. And I said, did you just like the words of this? He says, oh no, I am a big time old rock and roll guy. He got it from his dad. His dad, I guess, played in rock bands for years. Told me that he has boxes and boxes of old albums and 45s. Yes, it also makes me turn my head when a younger player knows what a 45 record is. Also mentions, I said, what are your favorite groups? He said, oh, I don't know, Triumph. And I said, oh, my gosh, I thought I was the only one in the world that had Triumph on my iPod. But Tucker Barnhart, old school rock and roll all the way. He went through all his favorite bands, and I tell you what, I was mightily impressed.
Well, good for him. Tucker pops up to the shortstop Crawford, and that's now 8 straight retired by Vogelsong to start this game. And boy, he's doing it nearly with the very minimum number of pitches. He's thrown 23 to get 8 outs.
And if you really have start evaluating his stuff just from his usage and what it is, I mean, nothing really jumps out at you. He doesn't really have a put away pitch. He doesn't have a go-to pitch. That varies from start to start, whatever may be working for him on that particular night.
And wouldn't you know it, Mike Leake becomes the first Red to reach base. That one to the gap, and this will be a 2-out double for the Reds pitcher. His 3rd extra base hit of the year. All 3 of his hits have been for extra base.
And he's one of the better hitting pitchers in all of baseball, and that is a nice simple swing right there. A lot of pitchers, you're going to tell that guy when he goes to the plate, go ahead and take a strike, will you? Because we don't really have much confidence in your hitting anyway. But Mike Leake, you're cutting him loose anytime and anywhere.
2 doubles and a home run for Leake. All 3 of his hits this season, and now 19 at bats. Cozart went after the very first pitch, and this is his first game batting leadoff, and hit a fly ball to right.
You wonder if
starting to rain a little bit.
You wonder if Mike Leake might be just a little bit more motivated now that they've added Michael Lorenzen to the Reds roster, who is a very fine hitting pitcher in his own way, kind of an internal competition there. Internal competition for maybe some umbrellas.
Yeah, for cover space underneath the concourse in the upper deck. It got here right now, and that's pretty much what they've been calling for. Scattered showers throughout the entire night. Of course, our resident farmer works with us here in the booth. That would be Dickie Moss. He tells us what the farmers need. Needing a lot of rain. Jim Day himself is scrambling around down there for his very handsome and obviously very efficient bad weather gear. Jim, they loaded you up, they being Fox Sports Ohio, with that gear, what, about 2-3 years ago?
I believe it was last year. Yes. And to prove my age, and I feel comfortable in these now, I've got like call them the old man galoshes, I guess. Rubber things you pull over your shoes.
Sure.
I am now everything I used to make fun of.
Well, there's a 4-pitch walk to Cozart, as for the first time all night long, Vogelsong has to pitch out of the stretch, and he did not throw a single strike in that at bat to Cozart.
Oh, it was the first time he had to throw to a batter out of the stretch position, and I was watching Vogelsong between innings, and he didn't really throw any pitches as warm-up out of the stretch. Sometimes you just forget to do that as a pitcher out there. You're rolling right along, and he has been rolling along.
All right, so now all of a sudden the hottest hitter in this Reds lineup, by far and away the most productive hitter here in the month of May. He's been among the very best in all of Major League Baseball, is Marlon Byrd with 2 on. 8 home runs, 22 batted in. And 6 of those have come over the first 14 days of this month. Bird knocked in 3 of the Reds' 4 runs in that 4-3 opening game win on Thursday night. And Vogelsong still has not thrown a strike out of the stretch position, 6 in a row.
Dave Righetti now, who is nice and comfortable, he's the pitching coach for the Giants in that dugout, is now on the first step of the stairs leading up to the field, and I would imagine he's about one pitch out of the strike zone away from making a visit to the mound. It was rolling right along until that double by Leake and then a 4-pitch walk. So 6 in a row out of the strike zone. You got to figure Marlon Burrow is going to be wheeling that lumber here.
And all of them have been missing to a right-handed batter down and away. All right, 2-0 to Marlon Byrd. Wow. Break there. That was a bullet. And Vogelsong, the proverbial kick, save, and a beauty. That had base hit and RBI written all over it. Not to be. Summer right here in the Queen City. Just visit the T-Mobile All-Star Fan Fest. That'll be going on at the Duke Energy Convention Center July the 10th through July the 14th. July the 14th is the All-Star Game. Buy your tickets right now for that at allstargame.com. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Giants. No runs, 1 hit, 2 stranded in the third for the Reds. Belt, Pence, Crawford. They went homer, double, single, producing a pair of runs to get the Giants on the board in the second inning. Rain has stopped. So a lot of those folks that rushed for cover are making their way back into their seats. Otto falling backwards, able to knock it down, and feeds Leake at the bag. 1 out.
Brandon Belt's got to feel pretty good about that. He knocked the first baseman over with a 1-hopper.
Here's Pence. He doubled to right center and scored in the Giants' second inning. Hunter Pence. They sat him down last year, the final game of the regular season, which ended what a consecutive game streak of 331 in a row. That's starting. This guy only missed a total of 23 innings on defense the entire year last year.
And he was very much like that when he played for the Astros early in his career, routinely playing in 156, 157 games. I mean, he's not a guy that you pencil in for 120 and then you've got to find a replacement. I mean, he's an everyday Eddie. Spent a couple of years with the Philadelphia Phillies, or at least 1.5 before he came over here to the Giants in a trade in 2012. What he did last year, though, was score a lot of runs. He scored over 100 runs for the first time in his career. He'd been up in the 90s before. But for a ball club that didn't score all that many runs, he was a key part of getting the runners on the board.
Well, the Giants are thrilled to have him back. In his first 2 at bats, he's gone double single.
He just seems to hit the ball where you don't expect him to hit it. Look at this ball is kind of left up and out over the plate. A lot of right-handed hitters are going to pull that ball, and they're going to hit it somewhere in the left center field gap. If they get out ahead of it, they're even going to hook it down the left field line. But Pence is always trying to stay behind it. He's well off the dish. He's kind of diving in towards the plate, and he just slashes that ball to right, kind of reverse against the defense.
Well, Brandon Crawford is making a living off Reds pitching in this series, swinging at the first pitch. That's his second RBI tonight. Pence scores all the way from first base, and the Giants lead 4-0.
Boy, hit it well, and he just looks like he feels very confident at the plate in this series. With 2 outs, Pence has got speed. He's off with the crack of the bat, and that's why he was able to score easily, even without a throw.
Number 8 hitter is Casey McGee, bounced into a double play to end the second inning. And this one is in the right center field gap. Another hit, and they're going to wave around Crawford. Phillips will throw to the plate, not going to be in time, and it's 5-0 San Francisco. Casey McGee getting in on the act.
McGee gets a pitch that's up. I mean, if Mike Lee gets that ball down around the knee, McGee will probably pull off that pitch. But if it's up like that and he's thinking about going to right field, you make it awfully easy on a hitter to do just that.
It's a season high in runs allowed by a leak. His worst game was a 7-inning effort, his second start of the year at Wrigley Field, when he allowed 4 runs in 7 frames. Since then, in 5 starts, he's gone 2-3-0-0-1.
And it's so hard to continue to pitch at that level. I mean, even for a great pitcher with a track history of an on-the-track Hall of Fame type pitcher, you're still going to have blips every once in a while. You go out there and the ball just doesn't go where you want it to, and then the ones they don't hit hard fall in and find holes, and you're just trying to push a rock uphill all night long. No activity in the Reds bullpen.
Vogelsong down a strike. Reds had to use a lot of bullpen here last night. They had it covered. 6 of the 9 innings after Marquis was kicked around for 7 hits and 6 runs in the front 3. They got multiple innings out of Badenhop and Lorenzen. Single innings from Matthews and J.J. Hoop. Ball hit the runner. And they're still
going to get him in first base. I don't think it hit the runner, Tom. If it hit the runner, it would either have been a foul ball or a fair ball. I think it was a situation where I don't even think the ball hit anybody. I think it was just a untangle on the. Well, it did hit him, but maybe after it already hit the catcher, Tucker Barnhart.
I think you're right.
So if it hit Barnhart first and then is hit by the runner, and it does, Barnhart has it with his glove or his shin guard, and then it's kicked by Vogelsong. And somehow they still throw him out of first base. So they get an out of it.
Nice play there by Tucker to stay with that and get the out. So give Vogelsong the sacrifice. And here's Blanco. You know, we brought up earlier about Blanco and having done more in 2 games and 2 at-bats in this series than he's done in a month. And you say it's sort of tongue-in-cheek until you go back and look at his overall season numbers. He has been on base 10 times in this series. He has only been on base 19 times total before this series ever began. And that's in almost 6 weeks. They finally get him out. 2 more runs. And the Giants with a 5-0 lead in the 4th.
Fox Sports Ohio, it's Reds Live, the pregame edition. Everything you need to know to get ready for that day's game is brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. I'm Jim Day. They continue to do a marvelous job on the Banks project outside of Great American Ballpark, and today another wonderful addition. Check this out. It's an indoor carousel. It's called Carol Ann's Carousel. It's a gift from Carol Ann and Ralph Hale, and it will be operating year-round. And the figures on the carousel represent many areas of life, history, and culture in the greater Cincinnati area. Chris Welsh, there's a horsey over there with your name on it.
I can't wait. I love carousels.
I do too. My mother-in-law went on a tour that the Cincinnati Parks and Recreation that they're giving specifically to all the things going on right now along the banks. As Joey Votto leads off the Reds 4, trailing 5-0, and Pagan will corral the pop-up. And she was telling me it's just unbelievable. And, you know, it happens to all of us no matter where you live. You know, if you go visit Washington, D.C., or you go visit Chicago, or you go visit Pittsburgh, wherever it is you're going, you'll make it a point to get out and check out all the things in that town. But we rarely ever do it in our own town. And she told me it is just amazing how many things are going on just in this stretch between here and Paul Brown Stadium, and of course extending beyond Sawyer Point, and a lot of it leading up, of course, to the city polishing its teeth in preparation of the All-Star game.
You know, it's a pretty good barometer of how your city is doing as far as progress. And this is a totally informal way of doing it, but you just talk to the other team's broadcasters. And over the years, you know, Dwayne Kuiper and Kruko have been together for years and years over there, probably 20 years or more. And they've been coming to Cincinnati forever.
Sure.
And they say over the last 5 or 6 years that this city has completely transformed. It's a different place. The whole traveling party, one time wasn't all that happy about coming to Cincinnati, but now they're thrilled to come here, which they were coming here more than once a year. And you hear that over and over.
Yes, we do.
Broadcasters in every different team.
A lot of brand new hotels downtown where some of the teams are, trying out different places. That ball was smoked by Frazier. Wow, you got to be kidding. Look at him down there. I mean, he just threw his hands in the air like. That's 4 in the last 5 at bats for Frazier. And the one ball he hit a little dribbler that never left the infield grass. He had a base hit of those last 5 at bats. The other 4 have been rockets at somebody, including that.
Now, the 2 kinds of fastballs that Ryan Vogelsong throws, and used to be a 4-seamer and a 2-seamer, but he rarely throws a 4-seamer nowadays. He tries to sink and run that 2-seamer away from left-handers just about all the time, and that's how he's gotten ahead of Jay Bruce in this at-bat. His next favorite pitch would be an off-speed pitch, and I'm not so sure that was it right there. He throws a changeup, but he also throws a curveball and a cutter. Just really the 4 basic pitches that most pitchers throw. He does not throw a true slider. He rather opt for a curveball. Two-seamer running away from Jay Bruce right there.
Well, you'll take it any way you can get it.
Now, how does that make Todd Frazier feel? You get a ball on the Q-tip end of the bat. I mean, that one right off the edge of the bat. It's got plenty of spin on it. It stays fair with the shift on that they put for Jay Bruce. There's no way that anybody's going to get to that. And you will take him any way you can get him. You're right. Take 200 of those.
Amen. Second hit of the game for the Reds against Vogelsong. The other was by the pitcher Mike Leake. Reds are down 5-0, and here's Brandon Phillips. Looks at the first pitch fastball high. We talked about that Cardinals 4-3 loss to Detroit. One historical footnote in that game. Miguel Cabrera clubbed the 400th home run of his major league career in that game, and it is a certain first ballot lock it down Hall of Fame career for Miguel Cabrera. But by hitting 400, he had been tied for the most ever by a Venezuelan born player with Andres Galarraga, who ended his career with 399. So now it is Cabrera who has the most home runs by any Venezuelan born player. Congratulations to him. If this guy keeps going like he's going, he's going to have some people that will make an argument that he could go down as one of the top 2 or 3 right-handed hitters in the history of Major League Baseball in Miguel Cabrera. And some of you may have seen Adrian Beltre hit his 400th career home run last night. There's another guy probably on his way to the Hall of Fame one day. He's had a great career. Weird career.
Yeah, very.
4 to Brandon.
Good at bat.
So now 2-out noise, as they did with 2 outs in a 3rd inning. And here comes Brennan Bosch. You can enter now for a chance to win a trip to the Major League Baseball All-Star Game on Fox for you and 3 others. Upload 2 photos to foxsports.com/fantasticallstar. It's all one word. Now through June the 3rd.
Well, he throws a lot of first pitch fastballs, Vogelsong does, especially to left-handed hitters. And this may be a good one for Bosch to take a real hard look at and cut loose on it if he likes it.
He cut loose on it, got a fastball at 91 and fouled it back.
You know, both the walks that Ryan Vogelsong has had tonight have come with runners on base, so he's throwing out of the stretch position. Back after the double by Mike Leake, the walk he gave Kozar was on 4 pitches.
Second straight inning, the Reds strand 2. They trail by 5. Your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on the U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. From the Commonwealth right into the Buckeye State, along the banks of the Ohio, sellout crowd on what so far, knock on wood, has been a beautiful weather night. Temperatures in the low 70s. Got some much needed rain earlier today. Joe Panik, a fly ball in a deep right field. Jay Bruce will have room. Giants a 5-0 lead. They've scored in each of the last 3 innings. 5 runs on 8 hits after Leake had a 1-2-3 opening frame.
Talk about rain. Some of the Giants, their traveling party, asked me what that stuff was coming down from the sky.
Sure.
Of course, the drought that they've had in California has affected all of them. Some of the coaches are telling me how they've had to cut back. They're no longer allowed to water their yards at all, and are being fined by excess water usage. I mean, as in too long of showers.
Except for some of the big stars in Hollywood, apparently. Read some article about that the other day, that they're making sure all those lawns are really nice and tidy out there.
What do you do if you have teenagers?
And watered.
How do you tell them to cut down on their shower time? You wait. You'll find out.
Yeah, I'm sure. I got to tackle my son in the shower to take a shower. 2-2 on Angel Pagan. It was fly to left and single to center. Breaking ball and a beauty, and Pagan knew it. That's strike 3. Second of the ninth for Mike Leake.
Yeah, both the strikeouts that Mike has had tonight have come via the caught looking, and that's the dandy. That's the spiked curveball we're talking about. Some people call that a knuckle curve because you curl your index finger, and the knuckle of your index finger is actually on the baseball. But in the true sense of a knuckle curve, we would call that a spiked curve, if you follow me. And a lot of times the only reason a pitcher would do that is you kind of the index finger on a curveball is really, there's no reason for it to be there except maybe to help keep control of the pitch. The main force on that of the curveball is that middle finger on the seam, where you get your finger around that seam and you pull straight down. We had a little bit of a look at that tonight in our Baseball Tech Talk before the ball game during the Reds pregame show, Reds Live, where Mike visited with me in spring training and went through his entire repertoire, including that spike curveball.
That one served into right field off the bat of Posey. He was fooled by that pitch, but that's a good piece of hitting right there. And a throw back behind him. And Posey back to the bag with a 2-out single, his first hit in 3 at-bats tonight.
Yeah, you know, you can compare that to the Jay Bruce hit, that he hit it off the end of the bat and kind of away from the defense. But this time, Posey's just trying to stay alive. And the worst thing that's going to happen to him right here is that the ball's going foul, and he stays in, keeps his at-bat alive. But as it turns out, somehow it stays fair, and he ends up getting the base hit out of it. You know, the more you watch Buster Posey play, just the more you are impressed. The way he carries himself on the field, what he does in practice, how he picks up his teammates. I mean, he can flat out hit. There's no question about that. And the interesting thing, the situation the Giants have, is that when they want to give him a rest, they want to keep his bat in the lineup, they can put him at first base, because they don't have an established first baseman down there like a Joey Votto that you've got to go tell, well, you're going to sit the bench.
Brandon Belt drops one into center field. Back-to-back 2-out hits by Posey and Belt. You know, we forget sometimes how rare, I mean really rare, it is for a catcher to win a most valuable player award. Posey's only one of 5 in the history of the National League to ever do it. Johnny Bench, of course, won it twice. Roy Campanella won it 3 times. Ernie Lombardi with the Reds in 1938. And you got to go way back. Gabby Hartnett with the Cubs in 1935. But Posey was the first net catcher in the National League to win it in 40 years, since Bench last won it in 1972. Swing and a miss. Pence a perfect 2 for 2 tonight. A double and a single, and scored a run.
I got to tell you, along the way, though, I really believe that Yadier Molina should have been the winner of the MVP. I mean, if you take all the things into consideration along the way. Of course, a lot of voters are just looking at the bottom line of the stat sheet, and the guy with the most power numbers oftentimes picks up the MVP vote.
If I'm not mistaken, Molina the last 2 or 3 years has finished in the top 5. So at least there are some people that certainly are taking notice. But boy, for those of us that watch Molina play on average 17, 18, 19 times a year against the Reds, and Tony La Russa even said for a long time, for many years, when they had the great Albert Pujols, he used to say frequently, hey, look, Pujols is our best player. Molina's our most valuable player.
Yeah, and Pujols won the MVP back-to-back in 2008 and 2009 as a Cardinal. Also won in 2005.
3-1 delivery. And there's strike two. Pence was thinking that was off the corner.
I'm wondering if Hunter Pence feels like he gets more accurate calls in the lower part of the strike zone with the way he wears his pants, where the umpires can really see where his knees are, because he's showing them.
He actually wears those pants above his knees, the kneecaps.
Those are like the clam diggers you used to wear, right?
That's right.
I had them with a rope belt. It's a good look. I wouldn't go that far.
I just like the fact that Pence is, he's wearing it the way he wants to wear it.
Exactly.
I mean, every player in baseball, just look around at the Reds on defense right now. Every single player wears their pants the exact same way.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. Well, all the way down to their ankles.
If you remember the Reds way.
Except Lee.
Right. But if you remember the Reds way on how to wear a uniform, they wanted you to wear a uniform exactly the same way, but that was back in the days of stirrups, where you would show the red stirrup. No pulling that baby up too high.
Well, the Giants, they've got a few guys that wear them where you see the black socks. I don't know how many first pitch fastballs Brandon Crawford's going to see in this series. He is killing everything.
Wow.
And it is blown wide open now. Brandon Crawford was hitless in the first game of this series, and ever since then, look out. 2 hits and RBI last night, 3 hits and 5 knocked in tonight.
Well, he is seeing it big, and he's putting the barrel of the bat on it. You throw a ball up there, and it's already elevated for the hitter. He doesn't have to do anything except size it up.
It's his 4th career grand slam to make it 9-0 Giants. So here the Giants came into this series averaging barely over 3 runs per game. And in the last game and a half, they have scored 19 runs on 24 base hits. You got to remember, this is a team the first 32 games of the year had not scored more than 6 runs in a game. And now they've gone 8+ in 3 of their last 5. So the Giants' bats are heating up at the Reds' expense tonight. To Great American Ballpark to root on the Reds, and there are still some dates available if you're interested for the Fan Express, but they're going quickly. So call 513-765-7600 and get dialed in. A career high night for Brandon Crawford. 6 runs batted in, 3 hits and 3 at bats, including a grand slam. He's a triple away from a cycle. Crawford is a Giants co-leader in home runs. He shares that spot, 6 of them, with the catcher Buster Posey. So Ryan Vogelsong is one fortunate pitcher tonight. Now he's earned a lead. He's shut out the Reds, only 2 hits. But his team, after going down 1-2-3 in the first inning, and had the first batter retired in the second inning, over the last 3 2/3, the Giants scored 9 runs on 11 base hits. Leake is standing in the on-deck circle, but there is action in the Reds bullpen. They'll probably let Mike bat and then go to the pen when the Giants hit in the 6th inning. Mets are exacting some revenge tonight at home against Milwaukee. The Mets have lost 5 in a row. Their lead in the National League East is down to a half game over the Washington Nationals, and it is 8-0 Mets in the 4th inning. Tucker popped up to the shortstop his first time up. Pretty good battle here to begin the bottom of the 5th for Tucker Barnhart. Still 3-2. This will be the 9th pitch in this at bat. Pitch, it's ball 4. 3rd walk given up by Vogelsong. Leake had a double into left center field for the first Reds hit of this game. That came in the 3rd inning with 2 outs and nobody on. Oh, 2. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Leake. And he broke his bat, pulling it foul. We invite you to follow the Cincinnati Reds all season long in 2015 with MLB.com at bat. It's up to the moment at any moment. In-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcast, StatCast, so much more. That StatCast is really cool stuff. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet tonight. Breaking ball away. So once more an extended at bat by a Red, trailing here 9-0. Barnhart, a 9-pitch at bat. Drew a walk. And now 3-2 on Leake. Gone swinging. Coming up later on, we'll have our Miller Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. Reds looking for some good moments here. They're trailing 9-0.
That was the first strikeout for Ryan Vogelsong. He had to work hard to get it. With Brian Price shaking up the lineup a little bit tonight, putting Zach Cozart at the top of the lineup. Cozart, it's not like he's never been there before. I mean, he has had over 100 games as a leadoff hitter in his career with the Reds. Just about 26% of the games he's played, he's batted leadoff. He's been on once with a base on ball. You wonder, I mean, if Cozart, goes off in this spot. I mean, really, gets hot, shows Brian Price a few things that he likes at the top. Maybe he likes the way the offense looks. Would you consider putting Billy Hamilton somewhere else until Hamilton heats up a little bit? Vogelsong right now not exactly attacking the Reds the way the Giants would think that he would with a 9-run lead.
Nibble. Now it's 3-2 on Barnhart. That 9-pitch at bat. Tucker walked. To 3-2 on Leake. Struck him out. Now 3-1 on Cozart, who walked in the 3rd inning. Ball 4. Boy, this has to just infuriate Dave Righetti. I mean, not to a point where you're going to lose your mind or anything, but here he comes out to visit the mound. You have been given a 9-0 lead, and you've walked 2 batters in nearly a third to start this inning.
Yeah, you got to figure this conversation is a little more in depth than just saying, what are you doing out here walking these guys? I mean, a lot of times it's something mechanical. Maybe Righetti knows what Vogelsong keys on during his delivery to throw a strike, or it could be to remind him, hey, we have a bunch of other guys down in that bullpen who wouldn't mind finishing this inning out and picking up a nice 9-0 W.
Righetti's one of the few guys, and there are a few of them around, but one of the few coaches in Major League Baseball who was a legitimate star as a player. I mean, he did it all. He was a starter, threw a no-hitter for the New York Yankees, became a great closer in the game of baseball. And he has dedicated so many years since retiring to being a coach.
He's the father of triplets. And, you know, I was in the Yankee organization when Dave Righetti was traded from the Texas Rangers to the Yankees. And I took one look at him warming up on the sideline about 95 miles an hour. I said, well, I just got bumped down a notch. Or several.
Fly ball into right on a 1-0 count. And tagging, advancing on to third base is Tucker Barnhart. 2 away in the inning. It was on the 4th of July, you may remember, in 1983, when Dave Righetti no-hit the Yankees' rival Boston Red Sox. Runners on the corners, 2 down for Joey Votto. Joey 0 for 2, a pair of fly balls to center field. Full there, strike 1. Always starting to pay a little bit of attention. I mean, not a ton yet because there's so far to go. Not necessarily a ton of time between the end of voting, but a lot of time for decisions to be made about what players will earn their way into the All-Star game and or be voted into the All-Star game. First base has traditionally been one of the toughest positions to get in. And right now there are 2 guys having monster years at the first base position along with Votto, and that would be Arizona's Paul Goldschmidt, and of course the Dodger first baseman Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez is hitting .356. Paul Goldschmidt is batting .344. Both of them 30 or more runs batted in already this season. And of course there's Anthony Rizzo with the Cubs. Comebacker to the mound. So after wildness in the early part of the inning, Vogelsong takes care of business. He leads 9-0.
It's Reds Live, the post-game edition. Here for the manager before anyone else. The most expanded Reds highlights you'll get anywhere. It's brought to you by Performance, Kings Honda. Well, it's been an uneventful night. Not on the scoreboard, but nothing like that last night as the fire in the right smokestack, or the PNC power stacks out there. Brought the fire department here, and Cincinnati's finest did a great job of handling a tough situation. Now, Tim O'Connell runs Great American Ballpark today, confirmed that those power stacks will not be used tonight. They will not be used tomorrow. They will get together with the fire department and the county who runs the stadium and formulate a plan going forward so something like that never happens again. And they hope to have those power stacks working on the next homestand. So they will not be used tonight, will not be used tomorrow. And let's face it, there hasn't been a whole lot of reason for those power stacks to go off yet in this one.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. The night is over as we suspected it would be for Mike Leake. 5 innings, 11 hits, 9 runs. And taking over on the mound, who, you know, the old adage is you have to start somewhere. And rather than looking at what's happened in the past, why not look forward to where you're going? And for Bert Badenhop, he walked the first batter he faced when he came into the game last night, and then ended up working 2 perfect innings.
Yeah, including 3 ground balls in the second inning of work, and that's the way he gets hitters out. But he's still leaving that ball up a little bit, and McGee's picked up his second hit. Well, that's not McGee, that is Vogelsong.
I mean, everybody getting in on the act for the Giants tonight. They had 13 hits, scoring 10 runs last night. We are 1 batter into the 6th inning. They had 9 runs and a whopping 12 hits. And remember, in reality, the 9 runs and the 12 hits have occurred in the last 3 2/3 innings. Because Leake retired the first 4 batters of the game.
Yeah, he couldn't have looked sharper than he did in that first inning. In fact, if you'd asked me after the first inning, how do you think the Leake's going to pitch the rest of the way, I'd say, hey, the Giants are going to have a rough night tonight. And it just goes to show you how quickly things can turn. Second batter he faced in the second inning, Brandon Belt, launched one out of here on the very first pitch, and it went downhill from there.
Giants with 2 runs in the second inning, a home run by Blanco in the 3rd. RBIs from Crawford and McGee in a 2-run 4th inning, and a grand slam after Leake had retired the first 2 batters in the 5th. Posey and Belt with singles, a walk to Hunter Pence, and then Crawford on the first pitch whacked one to the seats in deep right center for his 4th career grand slam.
Tom, you've mentioned that Badenhop is a native of Perrysburg, Ohio. He was actually born in Georgia, but he was raised in Perrysburg with the Perrysburg High School. Then he did his college work at Bowling Green for the Falcons, where he played with an old roommate of mine, Danny Schmitz, who's still there coaching as the head coach of the Bowling Green Falcons.
I don't think it's any more than about a 30-minute ride, if even that, from Perrysburg to the campus of Bowling Green State University. They're both right off of 75 as you're zeroing in on Toledo, Ohio.
Perrysburg, beautiful little town.
It is. It's grown a lot in the last number of years. I mean, it's become quite a nice place. Obviously, for a long time, that was just a little country town. But, well, you drive up that way now, and there are housing developments and all kinds of restaurants. Thirteenth hit of the game for the Giants, and this will send Vogelsong first to third. Panik, who comes to the plate. And remember, he came into this game with an 11-game hitting streak.
I mean, they're hitting everything. Good pitches like that and pitches hung up in the zone.
Certainly ironic that Panik is 0 for 3 tonight. The only Giant in their lineup without a base hit. And as we mentioned, he's on an 11-game hitting streak run right now. Ball one up and away to Joe Panik. Panik's only 24 years old. There are not a lot of Major League Baseball players that come out of the state of New York. You might find some in upstate, in the middle of the state, where you have a little more room to breathe than, of course, you would anywhere around Manhattan. Played collegiately, though, at St. John's University. And he was their #1 pick, 29th overall selection in 2011. They made him earn his way up here. I mean, there was no handouts for the #1 pick. He did it at Single A, another year at Single A, a full year at Double A, and then after the injuries to Marco Scutaro last year, they were forced to bring him up, and it turned out to be a really good move. Fly ball left for Bird. Runners will stay put, 1 out. Giants going to go to their bench. Nori Aoki will come up and bat for Pagano. Will get the rest of the night off. There were a lot of rumors during the offseason that the Reds might be interested in Aoki. Had a chance to sign him as a free agent if they had gone that direction. Instead, they made the decision, of course, to trade pitcher Ben Lively to the Philadelphia Phillies to acquire Marlon Byrd.
And I think those exactly what you said it was, Tom. Those were rumors. I'm not sure whether the Reds were really ever interested or not in Aoki. They had seen him play many years with the Milwaukee Brewers. And here's a guy that signed as a free agent, hasn't even broken into the starting lineup.
He's pretty much been banished after starting pretty much every game for the first month. And now all of a sudden, they came in here last night before Hunter Pence was even on the active roster. And they started Justin Maxwell twice. They started Gregor Blanco twice. Going to come to the plate where they have the pitcher Vogelsong in a rundown. And they'll tag him out. That goes 6-5.
And it's a smart play. You say, well, why in a 9-run game would you want to go to the plate? Well, it wasn't a double play ball because it wasn't hit hard enough. Aoki was running out of the box as he struck it. So he was already on his way to first base as you see that kind of run and swing action. And they figured they're going to get a sure out. You might as well get the guy trying to score.
Well, you go back and look at just fundamental stuff all the time. And for a lot of you, you're out there trying to help your kids learn how to play baseball or softball. A lot of times you'll see a shortstop, any infielder, charging in on a ball like that. Now, Cozart knows who the runner at third is. But if you go back and look at his footwork there, he could have easily just thrown that ball off of his front foot. And a lot of times you'll see guys get a little sloppy and do that. But Cozart took that extra little step to plant his back right foot so that he just fired a strike right at Tucker Barnhart. I mean, he'd have thrown out anybody in the league with that throw.
Well, he credits his defensive abilities really to having good fundamentals that he learned in college while down at University of Mississippi. An assistant coach down there named Dan McDonald, who is now the head coach at University of Louisville.
They're pretty good there.
And they said and Cozart tells a story.
Posey shoots one into right. Bobbled out there by Bruce. Wouldn't have mattered. They wouldn't have thrown out the runner coming in to score Blanco. And the Giants lead is in the double digits, 10-0.
Well, Cozart will tell a story about Dan McDonald, how they would grade practices on defense. And if you didn't have a good grade, you were running at the end of practice, or you were serving sodas or drinks or whatever to those guys that did have a good defensive practice.
Good idea.
And Cozart said, I hated running. So I learned how to field ground balls the right way.
It's a great idea. I mean, if you're going to have practice, you're always looking for some kind of competition to keep guys interested in a practice. That'll keep you real interested or in real good shape.
It's really a great idea for youth practice, too, because it gives them something to do to keep their mind on actually trying to work on a game instead of, showing up and counting the airplanes going overhead.
Or the daisies in the outfield. (2-0) on Brandon Belt. Giants have scored in every inning with the exception of a 1-2-3 first. 2-1, 2-4-1. And that's not a very friendly zip code here tonight. Well, you can tack on another one. The zip code just changed to 21242.
Badenhop will tell you that he has to live down around the knees, and I don't know whether it's a flaw in his delivery or whether it's lack of pitching or not finishing his pitches and getting them down where they belong, but you just cannot live. If you're throwing in the high 80s in the major leagues nowadays, you can't live with pitches that are up around the letters. Just not going to happen.
Swinging is Pence. Giants get 2 more.
look at his numbers over the last 18 games, he's hit safely in 17 of those, 426 average. But I'm and Chris have talked about this. This can be one frustrating game. You can be locked in like this and just hit the tar out of the ball, but hit it right at someone. He did it last night. He did it early in this game and then did it again. Frustration showing from number 21 as he steps in again for another hack. Boys, what a weird game baseball can be.
No question about it. We talk about it seemingly, if not every night, every few nights. Just little things that happen in the game. And go figure.
Now, there's a saying in baseball that they all even out. I imagine right now, if you told Tom Brady, there's that saying, he would tell you you're full of baloney.
Yeah, right.
But after he dinks a couple into right field on one of those, classic swings where his body's going one way and his bat's going the other, then you ask him and he say, well, yeah.
Well, this time more routine, a fly ball to short right field. Vogelsong cruising tonight. Giants have some changes in this one. Aoki plays left field, which moves Blanco to center after Aoki hit for Pagan. Maxwell replaces Hunter Pence in right field. So Pence, well, now that's the way to do it. Jay Bruce lifts a fly ball to deep right field, and that will fly out of here for Jay Bruce. On the board, an 11-1 game.
Well, the first pitch hanging curveball right there, and pretty much center cut for Jay Bruce to jump on.
After Jay had that little cue shot roller that stayed fair up the third base line his last time up, he doesn't miss this hanger.
I imagine if Jay Bruce had a chance to put a ball on the tee and hit it, he'd have put it just about right there. I think I got corrected on that saying time that they all even out. I got a text from a position player, a guy who appears on our Reds Weekly, Doug Flynn, who said a pitcher made that saying up. Which is probably right.
I ran into a woman the other day, and I have a card at home. It was at a charity event for IPM Ministries here in town out at the Oasis in Loveland. There's a base hit into right field by Brandon Phillips. And this lady grew up 4 houses down from Doug Flynn.
Oh, wow.
Said they knew each other very well all the way through grade school, junior high school. Very pleasant. So, Doug, obviously you're watching tonight. I'll make sure to find that card and give you a call because she asked me to let you know that she would say hello. Hadn't seen you in a long time.
I thought I saw Doug here at the ballpark in line for one of those Johnny Bench bobbleheads.
Probably was knowing him.
He got here early.
Yeah. Johnny Bench would tell Doug Flynn that for sure. Boy, Doug's one of our very, very favorite people of all time. What a wonderful guy. Of course, now he's hosting Reds Weekly with Jeff Pecoro every Wednesday night here on Fox Sports Ohio.
Great addition to that show.
Just fouled down the third base line. Well, it's time for you to vote. We mentioned earlier For the All-Star game, you can vote 35 times on the 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot at Reds.com. Voting now is exclusively online and available on your computer. Game will be right here in Cincinnati. Vote often, vote early. Well, it's hard to believe that no more paper All-Star ballots. I remember as a kid, and I'm sure many of you out there feel the same way, would always get so excited when you would have a chance to come to a game and get a hold of one of those things. They'd pass them down the aisles, you know, the ushers at Old Riverfront Stadium and here at Great American Ballpark, wherever you were going to a game. Even in the minor leagues, they'd hand them out at the minor league parks. But no more. Everything now online. Bosch gone swinging, 2 out. Maybe you say, it's a little old-fashioned, but heck, I remember just the last couple of years since my kids were old enough to really pay attention to baseball and actually take a little pride on who they voted for on that thing. And we'd sit around the kitchen table the last couple of years with a ballot in our hand, and our daughter Ella would pick the first baseman. Then her brother Luke would pick the first baseman. All right, Dad, what do you think? Which one would you go with? And we do that for all the positions. I guess this year we'll have to huddle around a computer. Can't wait for that.
Where you're sounding older and older.
Well, I'll tell you, that one off the end of the bat, it'll fall into right field, a base hit. Skip Schumacher going to come up and bat for Burke Badenhop. 1 inning, 4 hits, 2 runs. Barnhart looks like a much more confident hitter this year than his short stint we saw in the big leagues last year when he first got his taste of major league pitching.
Well, I think he knows for certain that he's going to be here for a while.
He now has, 8 base hits in 24, 25 at-bats. Done a nice job. Jim Day was telling you earlier about some of the rock and roll bands at Tucker Barnhart. Well, who else, Jim, did he like? I mean, you pulled Triumph out of the hat. He had to have somebody else besides them.
We talked about the Michael Stanley band.
Oh, man, out of Cleveland, Ohio. Yes, sir.
He was bringing out like Grand Funk Railroad. I mean, he was going back in the day now.
We're an American band.
Yes.
The Michael Stanley band. That is one of the great bands that made it semi-big. I mean, they sold a lot of albums, a lot of records for a long time, but they were out of Cleveland, Ohio. They still play up there quite a bit. Jim, they refresh my memory a little bit. Triumph, I know they had some big hits. Can you think of any of them by name?
Sure. Magic Power, Fight the Good Fight, Hold On, Canadian Band.
Yeah.
Trifecta, only 3 guys playing. Actually playing instruments, which is, I know, thorn sometimes today.
1-1 to Schumacher. So do you have Triumph, or were you just saying that anecdotally?
Oh, no. You need a camera shot. I'll show you my iPod right now.
Triumph?
Triumph, man. It's good stuff.
Why don't you just hold your microphone up to your iPod there and
oh, no, we'd have to pay for that.
Oh, you're right. I forgot.
Yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble.
I don't want to do that. You're right. Well, I'm glad you're on the ball. 1-2 to Schumacher. All right, let's see it to prove it. I don't know if our camera that close so can zoom in that tight. Can it?
I don't know. We're going to back up a little more.
my gosh. Triumph Classics. 11 of them. They didn't have 11 classics. They might add 11 songs. They didn't have 11 classics.
Well, it depends on who the audience is.
That one down the left field line by Schumacher. And that'll bring in Brandon Phillips. Pinch hit double by Schumacher makes it 11-2 here in the 6th inning.
Schumacher did a little triumph of his own right here by hitting that ball the other way. Really, that's a classic look of hitting the ball where it's pitched. Those two guys have faced each other enough over the years, Schumacher and Vogelsong, that he knows that his out pitch to a left-handed hitter is often going to be something slow and away. And he went right with it and kept the inning alive. And Vogelsong, despite the big lead given to him by the Giants, looks like he's going to have a shortened night.
Wow. Given an 11-0 lead. And the hook by Bruce Bochy. I believe they had the big right-hander Gene Machi loose in the bullpen. And this will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. It is Machi. By 9. Gene Machi pitches for the 18th time this year.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of ball games, and again, you can't worry about earned run averages for relievers, but you can look at that bottom line there about the walks in the innings pitched and the strikeouts. And 9 walks in 16 innings is something that the Reds ought to keep in mind if they're going to get back into this ball game. They're going to need the help of some wildness from the Giants pitchers.
Zach Cozart 0 for 1 has walked twice. Broken bat roller to Panic, and that'll do it in the Reds' 6th inning. They scored twice. We move to the 7th. All Giants tonight. The largest soccer club. Go to ayso.org/play to find your region and sign up for your fall team today. Well, the Giants have been in the driver's seat, and especially tonight, Brandon Crawford, brought to you by Kia. A career night for Brandon Crawford. 3 for 3, an RBI single in the second, RBI double and scored in the fourth, and hit the lottery with a grand slam in the fifth.
Well, they'll face a new pitcher for the Reds, and I mean literally a new pitcher. Made his first appearance for the Reds yesterday after being picked up off the waiver wire from the Angels. Ryan Matthews, originally selected by the Rockies, 19th round, 2003. If you remember the name, he pitched a lot for the Nationals against the Reds. 31 years old, from Galt, California.
You know, he talked a lot with the local media about the injury that really sent his career into a spiral. And that is when he punched a wall around a batting rack coming out of a game while with the Nationals. And he was on a pretty good run of it at the time with the Washington Nationals. And I mean, everything has gone completely sideways for him really ever since that particular moment in time. A valuable lesson.
You know, you hear that from time to time where a pitcher will get angry and will punch the dugout wall with his pitching hand, and next thing you know, he's got a broken knuckle.
One out.
I think Doyle Alexander did that shortly after that trade with John Smoltz, if I'm not mistaken. If that's going way back, and that may not be accurate as far as the timing of that, but I know that he did that. At the very least, if you're going to punch a wall, you got to do is take your glove off first. Or better yet, leave your glove on.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong about this, but I thought I had remembered, and I didn't see it written in the article, but I thought I had remembered when Matthews did it, that he actually took his glove off his left hand. He had it kind of covering up his right hand as if to, you know, sort of absorb, you know, the shock or the blow. I could be wrong on that. I thought I remembered it happening that way with him. I have to ask him about it, not necessarily tomorrow before a day game on a Sunday, but maybe on Tuesday in Kansas City.
Well, you know, you guys were talking about music before that, the old song that I fought the wall and the wall wins.
That's exactly right. Jim Day probably has that on his iPod. I fought the law and the law won. Well, I spoke that. I didn't say it. Or in this case, the wall. Two and two on Casey McGee. Schumacher, after coming off the bench with that run-scoring pinch hit double, stays in for Brandon Phillips. Christopher Negron replacing Todd Frazier down at third. We are in the seventh inning. The Giants, who came in the second worst offensive team in terms of runs per game in all of the National League. Only the Philadelphia Phillies have averaged fewer runs per game than the Giants when this series began. And they scored the number that they are averaging in the first game of this series when the Reds won 4-3. At strike three, as they said, McGee went around. But here over the last two nights, the Giants have gone crazy. 10 last night, 11 tonight.
There's no doubt about it. You know, oftentimes you see that in slow motion from the side, and more often than not, the hitter goes. Well, the Giants are finishing up just a 2-city road trip. They came to Cincinnati after they spent 3 days at Houston. They're making a 2-day trip at Houston, where they split. But when they did win the game there in Houston, they won it by scoring 8 runs. They won 8-1 the first night in town.
Good work by Matthews. A 1-2-3 inning. Reds will bat in the bottom of the 7th, trailing by 9. Francisco. Home run by Brandon Belt in the 2nd inning would start the barrage tonight. Brandon Crawford has knocked in a career-high 6, including a grand slam in the 5th inning. His 4th career grand slam. Mike Leake touched up for 9 runs in 5 innings tonight. Jay Bruce finally got the Reds on the board with a home run in the 6th. They would add another. And as they come to bat here in the last of the 7th against Machi, they trail 11-2 in front of this sellout crowd on Johnny Bench bobblehead night tonight. Bird first pitch swinging, juggled over there by McGee. Marlin always hustles up that line and is thrown out by a step.
Yeah, that was a momentary bobble by McGee, and Bird put a little extra effort into that.
Joey Votto a hitless night, 0 for 3. A fly ball to center, a pop up to center, and a tapper back to the mound. Dodgers just underway. Colorado scored a run in the top of the 1st inning and is still batting. Only bring that up because the Dodgers are playing their 21st home game of the year tonight. 21. They have a whopping 16-4 record at home, which is by far the best in Major League Baseball. The Cardinals would be next at 14-5. That's hard to believe a team has played that many home games. So far this year, they've only played 15 on the road. And they're not leaving town until they battle these Giants next week.
the Reds will not go out to Los Angeles until the middle of August. They'll be out there for a 4-game series.
Votto's not happy at all with the home plate umpire. Yeah, that's a 3-city West Coast swing, right?
Yeah.
Or actually, it's I think it's Arizona, then San Diego.
Well, we call that the West Coast. Those that are predicting earthquakes are saying it'll be a coastal city any day now.
That's exactly right.
But first they go to Arizona, as you said, and then San Diego for 3 games and finish up with 4 before they come back and have an off day and host the Kansas City Royals. That would be right there in the middle of August.
Of course, George Strait was singing about that 15 years ago.
Sure was.
Got some oceanfront property in Arizona.
Going to throw in the Golden Gate Bridge
for free.
What if Jim Day has any George Strait on his iPad?
Hitting the back is Negron. Now see, before I got to know Jim Day, I would have bet the ranch that he would have a lot of George Strait. But now I think that's a good question. Well, Bueller?
I have a ton of George Strait. I am very eclectic. Anything from like Mozart to Metallica, I'm in there.
Wow. Okay.
I can prove it if you think.
I believe it.
My wife is trying to leave me for George Strait. I've got the swing and a foul ball out of play off to the third base side. $40,889 crowd tonight. And I guess officially the game did not sell out. I thought that, I mean, they're right there. Not much short. Good crowd, expecting a nice crowd tomorrow. There you see it. There's carrying your love with me one night at a time. Here's the big hits volume 2. Wow, very nice. The Troubadour there, that album.
He's going to be hard to stump.
He is.
Of course, I think he carries 6 cell phones. 1 for each of his Twitter handles.
You know, a song I was thinking about, Jim Day, reminded me of I could picture him singing this. I was on the treadmill yesterday and watching that movie, Anger Management, with Jack Nicholson and Adam Sandler. In the one scene where they slam on the brakes sitting across the Brooklyn Bridge, I believe it is, and Jack Nicholson makes Adam Sandler start singing the song I Feel Pretty. Now, Jim Day, would you have that one on your iPod or no?
You have finally stumped me. Nice job.
Right into the shift in short right field. Panic throws out Bruce. We're on our way to the 8th. Jim Day iPod stumper night at the ballpark.
Kids 14 and younger receive a Mike Leake poster presented by Curly's tomorrow. Plus, make sure you take advantage of special family ticket offers and enjoy live mascot races, face painters, games, and more. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Visit select Kroger locations or reds.com/family. To be a quick injury update, unfortunately for Sean Marshall, his season is over once again. It's not like the Reds really expected him back. The shoulder issues continue for him. And on Wednesday, he will have season-ending surgery to repair the torn anterior capsule in his left shoulder. So once again, Sean Marshall, tough go of it. We saw what a healthy Sean Marshall will do for this Reds team, and it was a very, very good thing. But we wish Sean the best. He is certainly, as far as people go, one of the best you'll meet in the game.
Well, you're right about that, Jim. It's really a shame. J.J. Hoover takes over on the mound. Ryan Matthews works a perfect 7th inning. Giants in front 11-2. They bat here in the top half of the 8th inning.
J.J. Hoover right now riding a 10-game scoreless streak. He has not been scored upon since the Reds were in Milwaukee almost a month ago.
.94 gas. One away.
Now the best strikeout of the night so far, and has come out on 94-mile-an-hour fastball, and that's why it is our flamethrower, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce. We'll have to see in that slow curveball. That 94 probably looked like 194.
Well, here's Panic. More than likely his final shot to extend a hitting streak to 12 games. Schumacher makes a nice play and throws him out. JJ had a snappy 1-2-3 ninth inning last night. What did he throw? A total of 5 pitches, I believe it was, last night.
You're right. It's exactly how many he threw last night to get the Giants out in order and to get his earned run average right down to an even 3.0.
So now with the first 2 outs here, he's dipped below that. Told you the Cubs beat Garrett Cole and the Pirates earlier today, 4-1. John Lester out dueling Cole, who gave up 2 of the 4. Detroit got the 400th career home run by Miguel Cabrera. Most home runs ever by a player born in Venezuela. That one ripped up the first baseline by Aoki. And this might be 3 for him. Yep, easily. He can go in standing up. One team the Reds will play in interleague play this year will be the Minnesota Twins. Now, they got off to a woeful start. Nobody was picking them to do much of anything except our buddy Bert Blyleven. But he believes they're going to win the World Series every year, God bless him. Well, he might be on to something. They won again today, and the Twins are now a whopping 5 games over 500. They have to be considered one of the real surprise teams in all of baseball.
Yeah, Target Field is the one field I've not been to, Tom, and they are playing extremely well there at Target Field. They are 14-5 at home. Unless they played at home today and they ran it up 1 more.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, 15-5. And so they're under 500 on the road. They've got a few road games to play.
And that's where the Reds are going to play now. Minnesota will come here.
Yeah.
The final day of June, the first 2 days, I believe, of July, before the Reds go on that final road trip leading up to the All-Star break. Andrew Susac batting for the first time tonight. He was a guy that wound up staying when they made the roster move with Hunter Pence. The Giants have been carrying 3 catchers this entire season. And they sent out Hector Sanchez as Susac goes down swinging. Hoover allows a hit, strikes out 2, no runs. On Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by your local Toyota dealers, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. Well, Mother Nature has stayed in a good mood so far tonight as we enter the bottom half of the 8th inning. Unfortunately, no sooner do those words roll off my lips, a light mist begins to fall. The Giants have not been in a very good mood these last 2 nights, as they have scored 21 runs, I beg your pardon, on 29 hits. I mean, you try to put it in perspective. You know, after the game here on Thursday night when they scored 3 runs, the Giants as a team had scored 115 runs on the year. That one into left center field, a base hit. And they've scored, as we mentioned, 21 in the last 2 games.
Devin Mesoraco puts a pretty good swing on that for a guy that has not had a lot of consistent at-bats. Very difficult for him to come off the bench to center one, but he does it there.
Well, Devin figures to get a lot of at-bats on the upcoming road trip. The Reds will be playing interleague baseball Tuesday and Wednesday in Kansas City against the defending American League champions.
He's also said that on that road trip he's going to begin to try to do some catching activity. which I would presume means get down and squat and catch a bullpen or two and see how that hip feels. It's the impingement in his hip that has been the injury that has sidelined him for so long. Of course, you always like to not opt for something other than surgery if you possibly can. But I'm not so sure yet that they figured out whether in the long run that he'll need surgery or not.
It is a topic, though, that you would like to put to rest. You know, if you ultimately believe, and I'm sure that, you know, obviously Dr. Timothy Kremchek and all of those who work with him as the medical director of the Reds and taking all things into consideration. And sometimes you have to take into consideration the best thing over the long haul for both the player and the organization. You don't want to fall into that trap of you know, making a decision that it comes so late that it then affects that player's ability to be ready for the following year and maybe miss half a season, you know, or something like that. When in essence you've already missed a third of a season almost.
Right. Well, I don't think, and the surgery evidently from what I hear, and I'm certainly not a doctor, I'm not going to play one tonight, but it's not the kind of injury that, say, a pitcher will have a Tommy John will keep him out a full 12 months. You know, you can come back after 4 or 5 months. So maybe that's the thinking. You say, well, why do it in April of 2015? If it only takes 5 or 6 months to recover, we can do it later in the year, and maybe he won't need it at all if he comes around. It'll be interesting to see next week at this time how he feels.
First 2-1 here in the Reds' 8th for Tucker Barnhart, who's had a good night at the plate. Popped up his first time. He's since walked, singled, and scored. Reds are down 11-2 with 2 on and none out here in the last of the 8th inning. Chi will put the tag on Tucker. Both runners advance to third and second. Take a peek ahead to the finale of this series and the final game on this 7-game homestand. Heston has been arguably their best pitcher. I'm not so sure how you'd really argue with it when you look inside all the numbers by Heston. Has the lowest ERA of the group. 3 wins. Anthony DeSclafani has been very good in his first year as a Red. Schumacher, a pinch hit run scoring double in the 6th inning. Bats for the second time. Ball 1. They're in for a long night of baseball tonight in Philadelphia. They just sat through about a 2-hour rain delay. They're only in the 4th inning. Phillies hosting Arizona. Well, the other team that was so hot, stumbled around just for maybe a handful of days, but now they've got it going on again, is Houston, going for their 4th straight win tonight. They split, as Chris mentioned earlier, a 2-game series against these Giants to begin the week. Schumacher slams his back to the turf after the comebacker will not bring a run in. Now Zach Kozak, 0 for 2 tonight, has walked twice.
Hey, you mentioned the Astros, Tom. I'm always curious to see how the fans react to a winning team in Houston. And right now they're averaging a little over 26,000 a night to watch the Astros play, which is about 2,000 a night fewer than they have here at Great American Ballpark. So they're coming around a little bit. There was a time there that, of course, they were big draws when the Astros were rolling high in the National League. And they traded away a lot of stars over the years, trying to rebuild that ball club from scratch. And they're a ball club that plays excellent baseball so far on the road. Their home record's not much to brag about, but when they get away from Houston, they're really dealing.
Well, I tell you, I have a chance to go down there still from time to time with football and that kind of thing, and work with a lot of people from that area. The fans are still really upset about being in the American League.
I bet they are.
They have always felt, because that Astro franchise, when it was founded, what was that, 62, right? They came in with the Mets. They've always been a National League city, and it is just taken. It's been a very tough sell, and especially when you don't have a good team. Gone swinging is Kozar, and that'll end the inning. We're off mercifully to the ninth. 11-2 Giants. Baseball's All-Star Game was playing the second of the Midsummer Classic, and it's best known among baseball fans for the performance of National League starting pitcher Carl Hubbell. He allowed the first two batters in the game to reach base on a single and a walk, and then proceeded to strike out 5 of the game's best hitters of all time. In order: Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, Joe Cronin. And that set a long-standing All-Star Game record for consecutive strikeouts.
And you know what his pitch was that he struck those batters out with? Was a screwball. There weren't too many pitchers. In fact, there aren't too many pitchers nowadays that throw that pitch, but he would throw that. Was an exceptionally deceiving pitch, and that was the key to him working through those Hall of Fame hitters. Guy that doesn't throw screwballs out on the mound right now, he doesn't need it. Jumbo Diaz brings it, and brings it hard. 13 games for, make it 16 games for Jumbo. 13 punch outs, only 3 bases on balls.
Going one on Brandon Belt. There was not a Cincinnati Red on that National League All-Star roster in 1934. Not one. We'll pile the Cubs.
You think there ought to be a player from every team, like the rule is now?
I used to think no, and now I think yeah. What do you think?
I think yes, but I think they should have a large enough roster just to make sure that deserving players aren't jilted. Of course, you're always going to have somebody unhappy, but you know that's a lot of times the manager is the guy that's out on the limb, and in this case, it's going to be Bruce Bochy. And he made a comment the other day when he came to town. He goes, "Well, I'm just going to make all the Cincinnati people happy and name the Reds."
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Smart guy. You know, I would imagine one of the reasons that you know, look, in so many things in life and in this world, you know, the old adage about follow the money. I would imagine, and I could be wrong, Chris, you know a lot more about this as a former member of the Players Union, but I would imagine if you were to get rid of incentive clauses in contracts where organizations have to pay a player a pile of money for going to the All-Star game, what with all the guaranteed money that has blanketed Major League Baseball and the salary being what it is, and it's rising every year to unheard of or unthought of levels, that if you were to get everybody to agree no extra money for players to go to the All-Star game, you would probably then see rosters of about 35 guys. You agree with that?
Yeah, you might, but you know those incentives, Tom, are the only qualitative incentives that players are allowed to have. All the other ones are quantitative. For instance, you can have an incentive for number of games played, or innings pitched, or you know, plate appearances. But you can't have an incentive that says if you hit 300, you're going to get a bonus, or if you hit 40 home runs. At least they didn't used to do that. They may be able to do that now. I didn't think so, though.
But you can get them, though, right, for winning an MVP or a Cy Young or something like that.
You can get MVP, All-Star, and awards like that, but not necessarily numerical breakouts like if I hit 300, I'm going to make an extra, you know, X number of dollars. And I always thought that was kind of curious, because if I'm an owner, I'd want the guy trying to hit 300 rather than getting extra plate appearances.
And I think we all are in favor in society, really, on any topic of you know, incentivizing anything in any kind of walk of life.
Well, if you're a salesman, you don't get paid on the number of sales calls you make. You get paid on the number of sales you make.
Sure.
Probably get a letter from the union on that.
Yeah. Long swinging is, I beg your pardon, 2-2 on Maxwell. To the count. Down by Schumacher. He stays with it to throw out Maxwell. It's a hard hit ball. 2 away in the Giant ninth. Well, the best player on the field tonight has been the Giants shortstop, Brandon Crawford. A single, a double, a grand slam. He's driven in a career-high 6. He scored twice.
Well, if you play for the Giants tonight and your name is Brandon, you've had a good night. Oh, Brandon Belt, 3 hits and 5 at-bats, 6 total bases. And there you see the numbers for Crawford.
As bad as the Reds starting pitching has been the last 2 nights, and a rare hiccup for Mike Leake, Jason Marquis giving up 6 runs in 3 innings last night. They have seen some bright spots out of their bullpen. Now, Baden Hoppe did not go well for him tonight after 2 shutout innings last night. But Matthews getting his feet wet as a Red. Hoover back-to-back nights of shutout baseball over 2 total innings.
And I got to figure Brian Pry's not afraid to go to his bullpen whenever he needs to here tonight and then tomorrow. They've got an off day on Monday, then another off day in the same week on Thursday when the Reds will have that off day in Cleveland. That'll be the off day between the 2-day trip to Kansas City, which features a pretty good pitching matchup on the first day with Cueto and Ventura, Giordano Ventura pitching.
Well, he's a guy that's been right in the middle of a lot of fireworks. You know, really taunting players from the other team after getting outs. Very emotional young man. It's been twice where he's been right in the middle of near well, one time it was a bench clearing brawl.
And that was with the White Sox.
Yeah. Well, that's when I saw Edinson Volquez try to take a shot at Jeff Samardzija. I don't know. I mean, maybe Edinson is an accomplished fighter of some kind. I'm not tangling with Samardzija.
Well, he's never always made the best decisions.
He's pitching well this year, though.
Yes, he is.
I mean, that Samardzija is a big dude.
And he was fired up.
Yes, he was.
And he paid the price. I think he got 5 games. That was one of the reasons why the Reds didn't see him when they went through their trip to Chicago to play the White Sox.
Yeah, he would have been slated, I think, to pitch that Sunday game. Crawford out on strikes, and good work by Jumbo. A perfect night. Reds down 11-2. Early here tonight. Giants scored 2 times in the second inning off Mike Leake. Got a run in the third, 2 more in the fourth, a grand slam by Crawford in a 4-run fifth, 2 more runs in the 6th inning. En route to an 11-2 lead, and George Contos will try and nail down the final 3 outs. When he's getting the ball, he's done a nice job.
Former New York Yankee, drafted by the Yankees, picked up by the Padres in a Rule 5 draft in 2010. Then he was returned by the Padres to the Yankees when Padres decided they weren't going to keep him all year long. That was in spring training of 11. And then the Yankees traded him in April of 2012 to the Giants for Chris Stewart. the bullpen for a few years here with the Giants.
Into left field. That's a nice running catch out there by Aoki to take away a hit from Marlon Byrd.
Yeah, Byrd just got a little bit out ahead of that one. Just a little bit on the end of the bat.
She did a nice job for the Giants. 2 1/3 innings, allowed a hit, no runs. Vogelsong in line to get the win. He'd go to 2-2. Lake to loss 2-2. A hitless night for Byrd, a hitless night for Votto, a hitless night for Frazier. Right in the middle of that Reds lineup. And a strike on Joey. Driven into left center field, and again Aoki is there to get it at the warning track, and the Reds are down to their final out of the night. Reds will slip to 1 game under 500. Giants will go to 1 game over. Cardinals lost earlier today. The Cubs did win. Pirates lost, so the Reds will stay 6.5 behind St. Louis. But they will be 3.5 behind the red-hot Chicago Cubs. Cubbies winning their 6th in a row earlier today. Negron, his only plate appearance was hit by a pitch in the 7th inning. One-two on Negron, and that'll do it. So the Giants unload on Reds pitching for a 2nd straight night. 22 runs, 29 hits over the last 2 games, and the Reds will go to the post tomorrow looking to make it a series split. Anthony DeSclafani against Chris Heston tomorrow. Reds Live coming up next right here on Fox Sports Ohio.